Welcome back. I'm going to try a slightly different format for these. Basically, instead of reading purely from a script, I have notes in front of me and I'm just going to basically ramble about the theory. But it should maybe be a bit better paced. Well, today we'll be covering intervals and triads. There are many different intervals. An interval is basically the distance between two notes. So if I have a C and a G, this interval is known as a fifth, perfect fifth. Something else that you probably noticed from saying that a C and a G are a perfect fifth is that G is the fifth note in the C major scale. So you can already see that intervals are very related to where they lie in the scale. So we'll just go through what the actual intervals are. There are many different kinds of intervals. You have a half step, which is just going up one fret on the fretboard. When you skip over a fret, that's known as a whole step. And then we get into the scale-based intervals. So we've got a minor third, which is the third note in the minor scale. And it sounds like this. And then we have a major third, which is a minor third raised up half a step, but it's also the third note in the major scale and the root of that scale, and this sounds like this. Continuing from that, we go up the scale chromatically, and we'll see that there's a perfect fourth, flattened fifth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth, minor seventh, major seventh, and finishing off with the octave. So some intervals are major, some are minor, some are perfect, but what do these words actually mean? They essentially just tell you the tonality of the interval. So if I've got a minor third and I play both the notes together, you'll immediately hear it's got a dark sound to it. If I do the exact same thing with the C major third, playing the notes C and E, it sounds more positive because it comes from the major scale. Major and minor contain the fourth and fifth, so they're known as perfect, and they both sound like, and that's the fifth, which again, C and G, when we're playing in the key of C. So, you might ask, why? So if we go up the whole scale, and then we land at the octave at the top, what about if we continue the octave and we play the next note? Relative to the C here, what's that interval? Well, if you remember that a scale is made up of 7 notes, the octave forming the 8th, if we go up another note, that takes us to the 9th. So, playing these two notes together, that's a 9th. We can continue this to the 11th, which is, and then we can also go even further and play the 13th. And this can also be a major interval. So you just take your interval, take away 7, that's the note it is in the scale, play an octave up. So if you're playing a 9th, you're going to play the root and the second note, but you're going to play that second note an octave up, leaving you with. That's the basics of what intervals actually are, where they come from, how you can construct intervals and use them to make certain sounds. So you'll have noticed when I played some intervals that some of them sound quite nice and some of them sound quite tense. For example, ones that I think sound quite tense are the perfect fourth and the major seventh. These are both known as dissonant intervals. Essentially, a dissonant interval is just an interval that wants to go to a consonant interval. The best example of this I can use is by playing a major seventh into an octave, which sounds like this. You can hear there's immediate tension, which is resolved by going up to the octave. So the octave is known as a consonant interval because it's where the notes want to land. So you can end your phrases with consonant intervals to give a sense of finality to your phrasing. So the consonant intervals are a minor third, major third, perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth, and an octave. The dissonant intervals are half step, which sounds very, very dissonant. It's probably the most dissonant interval. A whole step, which is like a flattened minor third almost. The perfect fourth, which has that airy feel to it. Flattened fifths. This is also known as a diminished fifth. And both of your sevenths, your minor seventh and your major seventh. It's really important to remember that dissonant intervals always want to resolve into a consonant interval. So if you are playing a phrase, say I'm playing something in like C major, I've just got that chord going on. And if I'm playing the C major scale here, I'm going. I can finish my phrase on the seventh, and then the next time I play, go back to that C. Strong resolution gives a sense of movement in the piece, in your melodies. Very, very useful. So these intervals have their own sounds, but what happens if we play multiple at the same time? If we play two different intervals, meaning that we're playing three notes at the same time, this makes what we call a triad. It's called a triad, pretty self-explanatory. 3 notes, 3 tones. There's 4 main kinds of triad. There's a minor triad, a major triad, diminished triad, and an augmented triad. By thinking of these triads in terms of intervals, you can see that a major triad is a major third, and then from that major third you play a minor third, resulting in you playing a fifth. So the major triad is composed of the root, the third, and the fifth, playing it like that. Exact same thing with the minor triad, you just swap them around. So you play a minor third from your root, and then from the third you play a major triad, resulting in this sound. And then the diminished triad comes from playing the minor third twice. So you play the minor third, and then from the minor third you play the minor third again, playing this sort of chord. Basically what you do there is your fifth, compared to where it would be in a normal minor triad, is flattened. So that immediately implies a diminished scale, or some sort of diminished tonality. And also, if you remember that the consonant interval, a perfect fifth is a consonant interval, meaning it has strong resolution, like this. By flattening that fifth, we've actually played a diminished fifth, which is one of the dissonant intervals. So it creates a very tense chord, which can be used to create a lot of tension. Hence why I called it a tense chord. The last kind of triad that you normally see is an augmented triad, which is just the same idea as diminished, but using major third intervals instead. So I'm going to play a major third, and then from that third, play another major third, resulting in this chord. This creates a very airy, floaty sound. Again, when this is not as dissonant as the diminished one, because in the diminished triad, you're turning that consonant fifth into a dissonant flattened fifth. However, when you play an augmented triad, you're turning that perfect fifth into a minor sixth. The minor sixth is still a consonant interval, so it's not as tense as the diminished one, but it does have that sort of weird tonality to it, because you're playing a chord that has a major third, but also a minor sixth. So it still wants to resolve somewhere, but you can be a little bit more creative with how you resolve it. That's essentially the basics of intervals and triads. They're very useful when it comes to playing anything, and you can just use them to construct any chord progression. Anything, any chord progression can basically be played in just triads. It has all the sounds you would need without the extensions. So an actual triad is just 3 notes being played together. So you can actually pick any 3 notes of a scale and play them together. So for example, if I wanted to play the root, the 7th and the 5th, that would result in, and that's a 7th chord, and I'm playing a major 7th in this, so it's a major 7th chord, which we'll cover later on. But you can see straight away, compared to this, which is also a major chord, you have this. Same chord, same quality, different sound, and also resolves very nicely back to the root. So, just experiment with triads, play a triad, see if you can figure out what notes in the scale you're using, and then try and play 2 triads together where one sounds dissonant and one resolves, like playing a diminished triad here and then playing a major triad there. Just experiment. It's the best way that you can learn these things. Just listening to it is great, but just playing it, apply it to your fretboard, play these triads, see if you can figure out a good sound to get out of them, and try and play things that are tense and then release. Just want to say thanks for watching this video and enjoy playing.